This video is brought to you by Dungeons of Drakenheim, a 5th edition campaign guide written by none other than the illustrious Dungeon Dudes. In this adventure, the city of Drakenheim was racked by falling stars that filled its now destroyed face with cosmic magic. Monty and Kelly are taking their own approach at Dark Eldritch Fantasy, turning their original livestream game into an open-ended urban adventure for you guys to enjoy. We've got new locations, monsters and villains, mechanics for easy exploration, and unique delirium crystals that allow fantastical spells to be cast at a heavy cost. There will also be 5 fully fleshed out factions that can be joined, exploited, smushed, or feared by each adventuring party. Check out their campaign on Kickstarter that launches June 28th, and click the link in the description to stay updated. Enjoy the video. Welcome to my second video about kobolds. I made one a while back about how dangerous their dens are, and I go into some detail about how easily they can kill you in their home turf. And that's because these cute little dragon people are some of the most original inventors in the world. Well, possibly one of the 2 best inventive species, but we'll get to that. Kobolds are clever humanoids that share a number of traits with dragons, but they aren't dragonborn because they're tiny and they have tails. And they aren't lizard folk because they're tiny. And they aren't half dragons because, wait, they're like little halfling dragons. I don't know, fuck half dragons. Those things are stupid and shouldn't exist. Kobolds also share a few traits with pseudo-dragons. It's Dungeons and Dragons, okay? There's a lot of dragons, the bit's over. But kobolds and pseudo-dragons are kind of comparable to the cat and dog versions of dragons. Pseudo-dragons are reclusive, proud, stubborn, and bitter. Kobolds are communal, communicative, self-sacrificial, and they can't stop fetching things. They also lack a lot of self-confidence and are easily employed by actual dragons to do their bidding, like grab beers from the fridge and keep pests out of the house. They also spend as much time in your trash can as they do crafting things from your garbage in your garage. Here's a little religious history lesson. In the days of old, the great goddess of dragons Tiamat ruled over a lot of shit. One of her vassals, who was watching over a portion of her shit, was called Kurtulmak, which is Turkish for avoidance, or escaping by the way, and I probably fucked up the pronunciation. On one of these fine days of old, the gnome god Garl Glittergold fancied himself a pot of gold. So he showed up, scooped some up, and evaded the kobold god by trapping it in an endless maze. Kurtulmak is smart, not wise, so all it can do is just plot revenge while aimlessly meandering in a maze. And because of this epic gamer prank, kobolds hate gnomes. But if you watched my gnome video, you would know that gnomes either don't give a fuck or forgot about their religious past because they were too busy playing hopscotch with really expensive powder. Here's my callback, by the way. Both rock gnomes and most kobolds are tied for first place when it comes to invention. But I think the major differences in their inventions comes from readily available materials. A gnome in a city can create fine-tuned timers and clocks, work in open air with rare resources, or in sterile environments. But a kobold has to come up with unique ways to use discarded glass, rare natural molds, limited metal supplies, wooden splinters, poop, and a live frog. This isn't always their situation though. Let me introduce you to the Kobold Lair, which I already did in that other video. Kobolds are fantastic at burrowing and tunneling, another trait that they share with gnomes, ironically. They're sort of like a mix between dragon cultists and segregated gnomes if you think about it. You could even create your own lore where they used to be the same thing like drow and elves, but some big draconic event happened. But anyway, because of their social standing as little dragon thieves, their natural stealth, anxiety regarding capture, and lastly their need for materials and food, they tend to live very close to settlements. A little too close actually. 70% of the time they're created just below a city, and they work into the sewage system. A little note on that, by the way, a kobold den in good standing with the city might actually get commissioned to build or improve this sewer system itself. But being undercities gives them great opportunities not only to salvage trash and set up booby traps for gnomes, but also lets them occasionally outright steal materials. And magic items are among the most prized materials, because magic brings these guys closer to being dragons. There's a few reasons actually that they like big magic. They can't ask their sugar deity for magic because it's in prison, thanks again for that, Garl. They can't study magic because they'd get thrown out of a window at Winterhold, and they can't really benefit from healing magic. I mean, imagine a kobold healer on a battlefield frantically running around trying to save their fellows, but all the other kobolds have 5 hit points, so they just explode instantly whenever a spear hits them. So the kobold healer saves the only one that barely survived a dagger attack, and then they both die to a flask of oil that does exactly 5 damage. But it's okay, because all kobolds have a death wish. They reproduce rapidly, mature faster than us monkeys, and the dead kinda honor themselves in their culture. Sometimes they even serve as a nice snack in specific hungry kobold dens. But the occasional kobold does receive magic as a sorcerer, awakening some latent magic from their own bloodline. And what do they learn? 2 types of spells. One's to find shiny treasures from far away, and others to blow you up if you happen to be the one who's holding those shiny treasures. Other kobolds with dragon blood actually just get their own wings. These lucky bastards. Fuck those guys. That's like being born into a rich family, but as a kobold, so they break even, I guess. So to conclude this little video, I think kobolds best fit into a campaign in 2 different ways. First, have their lair married to an old settlement, either as a group of outcasts, socially removed due to their lack of strength, as an infestation who's slowly chipping away at the city's valuable and precious resources, or as underground allies who keep a city alive in unseen ways. Or, as a second option, they could be serving a dragon. It's up to you how they'd be handled under a metallic dragon, if one would even keep servants, but normally they fall head over heels for chromatic dragons, which makes sense considering that their deity was just a servant of those dragons' actual ancestor. And that's basically kobolds.